What is going on? A CTP Steam DTube. John G. Olson here. And it's been a minute. It's been a while since we've done one of these. It is a CTP / DTube book review. I know, it's crazy. We do a lot of these Road to 10K shows. We do a whole lot of Thursday Night Lives and Crypto Mondays, but we haven't done a book review in quite some time. So about a month ago, I put it on Twitter that I went to the bookstore and I found the fourth book of an author I've really enjoyed reading over the past decade plus. The author is David Meerman Scott. He wrote a bunch of books, The New Rules of Marketing and PR. Really good social media dude, a thought leader in the space. But he wrote a book along with the CEO of HubSpot. I forget the guy's name now, pardon me. But David Meerman Scott wrote this book called Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead, along with the CEO of HubSpot, I think Brian Holligan or something like that. I'm butchering the name. I apologize. Anyways, yeah, this book was, wow. Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead was just like this power-packed book, probably one of my top 10 marketing specific books ever. It's right up there. Like, it's up there with Purple Cow for just like aha moments. You're just turning the page and you're just getting aha moment after aha moment, which kind of sets up big expectations when David releases a new book. So he actually co-authored the book that I'm going to review today with his daughter, and the book was called Fanocracy. Turning fans into customers and customers into fans. So I knew that he was writing this book because I follow him on Twitter and he was talking about it leading up to the book launch. So when it launched, I think it was earlier this year, like January or maybe late 2019-ish, maybe. But anyways, I knew it was out, so I ran to the bookstore and grabbed it. And the problem with reading a book from an author whose previous work you put on a pedestal, like every time Seth Godin writes a book, it's never Purple Cow, right? And you go into reading these books expecting that greatness that was like their magnum opus. So for me, like, Seth Godin is Purple Cow. Everything else is kind of like, yeah, it's a good book, but it's not Purple Cow. David kind of fits into that as well. So he's written a ton of great books, but the love I have for Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead just surpasses it almost like sets me up for disappointment, because I'm putting what he's going to write on this pedestal, and this suffered from that. This is a good book. It's a really good book, and it talks about community, building community around passion, and him and his daughter go back and forth kind of chapter to chapter. They give a ton of great information. But again, it's not Marketing Lessons of the Grateful Dead, which is not David's fault. It's kind of my fault for going into, getting so excited for his new book. And it's a really good book. And especially now here on Steam, where we've launched communities and there's gonna be, actually gives me a really good idea. We should do a book club or a book review club on Steam. That could be a cool community. Anywho, the message in this book is really important. And I think that, and this is something that I do in business a lot, I try to focus on people. I mean, I do believe that when you put people first, profits will come. It's kind of a mission statement I've kind of made for myself. And this book kind of addresses that. Like, all of the examples in this book, it's people having a passion first for everything they do. A lot of this it's almost like a personal journey. You're reading his daughter's kind of life experiences with something, and then his life experiences with something, which is great. What this book doesn't have, though, is kind of like a play-by-play. It doesn't really like set you up with like aha moments where you're like, okay, I'm going to go put this into practice. It's not really a lesson book. It's not a teaching book. It's kind of just the message is putting fans first. And I think that it's like 250 pages long. It does a really good job of focusing on that. If you're expecting to read this book and go, oh, I'm just going to like write down so many ideas, this isn't the book for it. the book is, the big message is turning fans, right? Turning fans into raving, passionate people within your community. That's the big message behind this book, and it does a really good job of that. Again, the problem is that I'm such a huge fan of David Meerman Scott's earlier work. I expect marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead every time I pick up one of his books. This is not marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead, just like The Dip by Seth Godin is not Purple Cow. Just like Mastery by Robert Greene is not 48 Laws of Power. Like there's certain authors come up with just amazing books that you just kind of put on your bookshelf and you revisit because they're just so amazing. I used amazing a lot there, didn't I? But regardless, this is a great read because it cements a lot of what we believe on Steam when it comes to setting up communities and turning the shared passion that we have for blockchain, for whatever topics, and focusing on people. That is the message of this book, and it is really important, especially in today's day and age, I think, of doing business. Don't worry about the profits. The profits will come. Set yourself up for big things down the road when you focus on people. When you turn those people in your community into raving fans. You do that, you're setting yourself up for some big stuff down the road. So, Fanocracy by David Meerman Scott and Reiko Scott, his daughter. New Rules of Marketing and PR was one of his first books that he read. I loved it, and it kind of got me into marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead. Really good author. If you are new to David Meerman Scott, you'll enjoy this. You'll really enjoy this. But of course, I'm always going to recommend Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead because it's just such an amazing book. It's so awesome. Really cool book. Great read. 250 pages. It didn't seem that long when you get into it. The chapters go back and forth between him and his daughter, and it's a really cool way the way they wrote it. But check it out. Fanocracy. Turning fans into customers and customers into fans. On the CTP book review. Check it out, and I will be back because I've got a lot of books I got to read, so I will get back into the habit of doing these every couple of weeks instead of every month. I got to take my own advice, right? I got to get into the habit of doing this stuff every 2 weeks. So stay tuned for the next book review, and maybe that's what I'll do this week is I'll set up a book club on the communities on Steam. That'd be cool, huh? Anyways, hope you guys have a great weekend. Let me know if you've read any of David Meerman Scott's books, what you would recommend that I dive into. I always ask that, and I get some great recommendations. I do that because I want excuses to go to the bookstore. So I'm going to go to the bookstore tomorrow night. So if you guys can give me some recommendations, that'd be awesome. Hope you have a great weekend. I will see you guys on Sunday night on the Sports Nerd Show, as well as throughout the week, next week on the Blockchain. Toodles.